to those who need the tax relief the most. With that, I'll be continuing after questions.
The honourable member for Sherwood Park, Saskatchewan, will have 7 more minutes remaining for his remarks when the House next gets back to debate on the question, and of course the usual 10 minutes for questions and comments. Maintenant, nous allons procéder.
We'll now move on to member statements. The honourable member for Bécancour, Nicolas Sorel. Mr. Speaker, it is with great sadness that I speak today about the death of Hélène Zakhaïb. She was a former member for Richelieu, and Madame Zakhaïb had deep roots in Sorel.
She got involved in politics, above all, to make the economy more dynamic. As Minister of Industrial Policy in Quebec, she worked with small business and made small business her main issue. I was able to campaign with Ms. Zakhaïb and to work regularly with her. She was always ready to serve her fellow citizens. I'd like to thank her on behalf of the Bloc Québécois for her engagement. Her loss reminds us that the struggle against cancer is far from over and that we have to continue to support research in order to conquer this disease. My condolences to all her family.
For Guelph.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is with deep sadness that I inform the House of the passing of Frank Main. Frank was a Member of Parliament from 1974 to 79, where he served under former Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Later, he served on Guelph City Council as a councillor. Frank leaves behind his wife, Mary Eva, of 60 years this coming May, his sons and daughter and their families. Frank and I never had a conversation that he did not mention how proud he was of his kids and their latest accomplishments. He was educated at Queen's University with a BSc and MSc in engineering chemistry, and at Churchill College, University of Cambridge, with a PhD in organic chemistry. He developed new materials and processes and was involved in patenting some of his work and commercializing the bioplastics that some have his name. Frank and I got to know each other through his service to Holy Rosary Parish, where he always had time to pitch in or display his beautiful orchids. Frank spent many years in leadership positions with the local Knights of Columbus, as well as helping with faith development groups. Rest in peace, Frank. You fought the good fight and have finished the race. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Échemins, Lévis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to pay tribute today to people in my riding who put the dignity of the person first. The Rive Sud Occupational Workshop, with its 75 workers who are supervised by an experienced team, is a social economy enterprise. It's been offering people who are disabled intellectually or physically. It helps them gain access to the labor market. Given that we have a growing shortage of workers, the Atelier offers businesses tailor-made subcontracting, and this helps these businesses save appreciable amounts in time and money. The president, Thomas Potvin, and his board of directors, and also with its general director, Claude Vauchois, they help these people to get back, and we hope they will continue their growth. I congratulate them. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, last week Surrey lost an exceptional teacher in a tragic car accident. Siminder Singh, or commonly known as Mr. Singh by his students, was an exceptional teacher, mentor, and musician. His impact on his students and fellow Tamanoa Secondary was profound. He was the head of the math department, an award-winning teacher, and on weekends, an amazing tabla player. He lived a very disciplined, graceful, and elegant life. He taught, he served, he sang, and in between, he worked out. This Saturday, thousands of students and teachers arranged a vigil in his honor, shared stories of how he made math relatable, how his door was always open, and how he extracted the best of his students. He will be deeply missed by his friends, students, and colleagues, but we know he will continue to see them through his 3 beautiful children, Jeevan, Jodhan, and Kiran. Miss you, my friend.
L'honorable député d'Abitibi-Baie-James.
The honourable member for Abitibi-Baie-James-EU.
In the 1970s to make way to hydro development in James Bay, USG. It is 620 kilometers long and is an important corridor for thousands of people that use it every month. It is badly needs repair. I've had the pleasure of driving that bumpy and broken highway many times to visit the communities in my riding. The highway is so infamous that Manuel Lafome, a musician from Sesame, has written an honor song for all the people who use this road. The song James Bay Highway Blues is written in Cree in English, and the chorus goes, "It is so bad, this road, so horrible." Manuel says that it is a wonderful feeling to write Cree lyrics and to sing his heart and soul out. I invite everybody to get to know Northern Quebec a little more by supporting musicians like Manuel and safely driving the James Bay Highway to visit beautiful EUSG.
Honourable member for Scarborough Agincourt. Scarborough Agincourt.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, I've just come back from a very constructive visit to Armenia, which included the Sommet de la Francophonie and bilateral discussions. There was a very moving ceremony at the memorial of Armenian genocide.
The Arnold Chan Initiative for Democracy in Armenia. This includes initiatives to assist Armenia in strengthening its democratic process. The initiatives include building the capacity of youth in Armenia through inclusive debates, protecting the education rights of Yazidi girls and women, increasing participatory governance and inclusion policies of political parties, strengthening women's political participation, and promoting environmental education in public schools in Armenia. Through this initiative, Arnold's commitment to democracy will be honored and democracy in Armenia will be strengthened. Merci beaucoup.
The member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, Asia Bibi is a loyal, law-abiding Pakistani Christian woman who faces trumped-up blasphemy charges and a possible death sentence. Pakistan's blasphemy law is in urgent need of reform. It is often used to target minorities in personal disputes. Asia's case has gotten attention because two prominent Pakistani politicians gave their lives to advocate for her. Shahbaz Bhatti and Salman Taseer were both killed because of their calls for blasphemy law reform and their advocacy for Asia. These men were heroes who gave their lives out of a true patriotism rooted in their humanism. They did not die in vain. In the Asia case, Pakistan's leaders have a clear choice. The world is watching. You cannot expect to be welcomed into the community of nations on favorable terms while putting innocent people on death row. All forms of violence against the innocent are extremism by definition. This case will be a defining moment. Will Pakistan's leaders release this innocent woman and reap the benefits of our strengthened relations, or will they choose extremism? For Asia's sake and for the sake of all Pakistanis, I hope they make the right choice.
L'honorable député de Pierrefonds.
The honourable member for Pierrefonds.
From across Canada to Parliament. Depuis plus de 100 ans, les scouts ont aidé.
For more than 100 years, Scouts have been helping millions of Canadians to discover adventure, make new friends, and learn life lessons. They become more independent, more capable, and better prepared to succeed. In this House, we have several MPs who are exemplary proof of what Scouts can accomplish. These young people will bear the torch for tomorrow.
Canada and l'Association des Scouts du Canada for the wonderful work they do with our youth. As we see a new generation of Scouts embark on their journey, we're inspired to see these young people become the future leaders of Canada. Thank you.
The honourable member for Quebec-Mactaquac.
Mr. Speaker, I'm so pleased to stand in this House today to congratulate not one, but two students who live in my riding of Tobique-Mactaquac that have been selected to participate in this year's PAGE program. D'abord de Grandsault, Pascal Gagnon.
First, from Grandsault, Pascal Gagnon, member of the Youth Council in my riding, who graduated from Polyvalent Thomas Albert and who will be studying in the Honours Commerce program.
Otherwise known as Leon Yu, is working towards his joint honors in economics and political science. Leon graduated from Ross A. Netherwood International Baccalaureate World School, located in St. John area of New Brunswick. My sincere congratulations to both Pascal and Hong Liang Yu, to their proud parents and their families, and full marks to Paul McClellan, head of School of Ross A. Netherwood, and Pierre Morin, director to Polyvalent Thomas Albert. You make New Brunswickers proud.
Hear, hear.
The honourable member for Carlton Trail, Eagle Creek.
The great Prime Minister John Diefenbaker famously said, "I am a Canadian, free to speak without fear, free to stand for what I think right, free to oppose what I believe wrong." This freedom is foundational to our society. It is the right on which all other rights depend. I was shocked and disturbed to see 2 recent videos of young women here in Canada violently assaulted for peacefully expressing their pro-life beliefs. For the sake of our democracy, we must be able to speak our minds and express our personal convictions about difficult and controversial subjects without fear of violence and with the willingness to listen and debate peacefully. If we allow this politically motivated violence to go unchallenged, we delegitimize our society. I condemn these attacks and call on all members in this place to do the same and stand up for the rights of Canadians to freely express their deeply held convictions.
The honourable member for Nepean.
Mr. Speaker, between 1869 and the late 1930s, over 100,000 child migrants were sent to Canada from the British Isles. Motivated by social and economic forces, many believed that these children would have a better chance for a healthy, moral life in rural Canada. The children were first sent to distributing and receiving homes, then to farmers in the area. Many were poorly treated and abused. September 28th marked the first National British Home Child Day. I was privileged to commemorate by joining President of Ontario East British Home Child Family, Judy Newville, in honouring Dave and Kay Lorente, founders of Home Child Canada, and who are current Nepean residents. In 1991, they formed Home Child Canada and were a driving force behind the growing awareness of the British home child history in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Niagara Centre.
Mr. Speaker, in my hometown of Port Colborne, there are only a few lasting reminders of times past and even a few more that look forward to our future. I am proud to rise today to honor the International Nickel Company, or INCO, now known as Valley, as they celebrate 100 successful years in our city. From its construction to the boom of the past 4 years and up to the present day, the impact of INCO Valley continues to be felt throughout the city of Port Colborne. Anyone who lives in the city has a family member or knows someone who works or has worked for INCO Valley. As children, we knew that when the 9 p.m. whistle sounded, it was time to go home. Through the years and all the ups and downs, INCO Valley has stood the test of time. For many of us, it is a source of pride and happy memories. At the same time, their continued commitment serves as a beacon for the future. Congratulations, INCO Valley, on being innovators, employers, and responsible corporate citizens over the past 100 years and for many more years to come. Thank you.
The honourable member for Portage Elizabeth.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has failed. He failed on the economy by making the middle class pay more while the wealthiest pay less. He failed to start construction on the Trans Mountain. He failed to secure our borders. He failed to put returning terrorists behind bars. He failed to stand up to Donald Trump in trade negotiations. He failed to stop the flow of illegal guns used by gangs. He failed to put the needs of victims ahead of the wants of criminals. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, it's Canadians, not the Prime Minister, who will bear the consequences of these failures. Canadians have told us that because of these failures, life is more expensive for them, our communities are less safe, It's harder for them to find opportunity, and they are less confident in their government. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve better. In 2019, Conservatives will fix these Liberal failures and offer Canadians a government that they deserve.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille. Mr. Speaker, this week we're celebrating small businesses, which are the backbone of our economy and which make our communities thrive. I'm proud to be the daughter of a family of business people and to have experienced the reality of small business, to work hard for customers, partners, and employees. I'm also very proud to be the chair of a group of business people, mostly small businesses. Very few people work as hard as small business owners. They deserve a government that works for them. The Government of Canada has taken many measures to encourage the success of small businesses. We have lowered the tax rate, lowering it to 10%, and we will lower it again next year to 9%. Congratulations to business people. You contribute to our economic success.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to an extraordinary group of volunteers, the Okichitawak Patrol Group, or OPG. This summer, when a young girl was almost abducted in Saskatoon, these community members decided enough is enough and stepped up to reclaim their neighborhood. From patrolling schools and parks till needle cleanup to just being a reassuring presence and friendly face, OPG is on the front lines doing their part to make Pleasant Hill neighborhood a safer place for everyone, especially children. Okichitawak means warrior in Cree. OPG members are also committed to building cultural and neighborhood pride with events like impromptu round dances in the local park. OPG founder and leader Colin Natawau and Lanny McDonald, second in command, are working with the Saskatoon Police Service to provide volunteers with training and support. Please join me in thanking Colin and Lanny for their leadership and all the members of OPG for stepping up to make our communities safer. You are our neighborhood heroes.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Shepherd.
Mr. Speaker, today is National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day, a day to remember mothers and fathers who lost their babies by miscarriage or stillbirth and infant loss. The Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Canada estimates up to 20% of pregnancies end in a miscarriage. Over the summer, my family said goodbye to our youngest daughter, Lucy Rose, after only 39 days. I want to thank the staff at the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, the doctors, the paramedics, the police, our First Alliance church members, and the many, many neighbors who dropped off food, comforting cards, and gave us hugs at the door. I also want to thank the many parliamentarians who sent my family kind notes and expressed their sorrow. Too often we prize a long life of achievements over a life well lived, filling the hearts of those around us with warmth and compassion. On this day, let us grieve. Grieve for the parents who have lost a child, as well as the siblings who lost a lifelong best friend. Next time you're home, hug your kids. If they're old and have their own, hug them anyway, even if they protest. Life is too short, and none of us know when our time will come. God bless you all.
Thank the member for Calgary-Shepherd for his statement. I think he can see that the love and support of the parliamentary family are with him and his family. The honourable member for Pontiac.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you know, last October 10th was International Mental Health Week. In this regard, I had the opportunity to visit Maison Le Ricochet, this organization in the community of Sainte-Cécile-de-Macham, works at improving the quality of life of people struggling with mental health issues and helping them with rehabilitation and reintegration into society for over 28 years.
Who are struggling with mental health issues to get back on their feet. In addition to residential services, their day centre offers different programs, from support groups and a carpentry workshop, where they make the beautiful furniture sold in their boutique. J'aimerais remercier Marc Beauchamp.
I'd like to thank Marc Beauchamp, Director General, and Anne Doiron, Clinical Coordinator, and their team members for their dedication and professionalism. Their work makes a huge difference in the lives of many Canadians, especially in the Pontiac.
Oral questions, questions orales, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Monsieur le Président, la semaine dernière.
Last week, we discovered that Kurdish authorities captured jihadists from the Islamic State who have Canadian citizenship. They committed atrocities. Medias indicate that these individuals had been contacted and individuals wanted to help them come back to the country. Can it be confirmed that this government proactively contacted these terrorists instead of making sure that they be brought to justice?
Honourable Minister for Border Security.
Mr. Speaker, what I can confirm is that this government takes the safety of all Canadians seriously. We work very closely with our law enforcement agencies and their partners around the world to ensure the evidence is gathered, and for individuals who have committed serious crimes, they will face the full consequences of the law in Canada.
Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we already know that that's not the case because it's been months since the Prime Minister has failed to introduce any measures to hold those who have already returned from fighting with ISIS to justice. He's offering poetry classes instead of keeping these individuals behind bars. These are people who have committed some of the most heinous atrocities imaginable. So if the Prime Minister has failed to hold those who have returned from fighting with ISIS responsible already, why is he reaching out and trying to bring more home?
Honourable Minister of Border Security.
Mr. Speakers, in the 10 years of the previous government, they failed to take any action against any member of who had committed terrorist acts in a foreign land. Since coming into our government, we have now incarcerated 4 individuals. Mr. Speaker, we have complete confidence in our CMP and our national security officials to do their job and to keep the country safe.
Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it's clear that renegotiating NAFTA by the Prime Minister did not put Canada in a better position. Donald Trump's representatives said that when it came to concessions, Canada was very generous. Not only did the Prime Minister allow greater access to our dairy market, he also decided to limit our exports to other countries. Why did the Prime Minister accept an agreement that is to the disadvantage of our exporters? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, we refuse to capitulate, and we have a good agreement for Canadians. This will protect billions of dollars and will lead to the generation of thousands of jobs in Canada. Jerry Diaz, premiers, and other representatives support this, as well as representatives of every political party. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's odd that the Minister used the word capitulate, because that's exactly what they did. They capitulated on access to Canada's dairy market. They capitulated on pharmaceuticals, agreeing to Donald Trump's plan for higher drug costs for Canadians. And they actually agreed to limit Canada's dairy exports to other countries so that American farmers can fill that space. Can the Minister explain, did she get in return for all those concessions an end to steel and aluminum tariffs?
Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, when we were in the heat of the negotiations, all we heard from the Conservatives was that we were being too tough, that I was being too tough, and that we should capitulate. Now that we haven't...
Order. Order. The honourable member for Edmonton West will come to order, and so will others. Order. We'll need to hear the answers as well as the questions. I had no trouble hearing the question. I should be able to hear the answer equally well. Order. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, now that we have a deal, they've discovered their Monday morning courage. Mr. Speaker, we were tough when it mattered. We stood firm and we got a good deal for Canada.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure the minister that nobody thinks that this government was too tough with Donald Trump and the Americans. Nobody. Nobody thinks that they were too tough on autos accepting a cap. Nobody thinks that they were too tough when they agreed to limit Canadian dairy exports to other countries. Mr. Speaker, it seems like the minister had some Sunday night panic as they agreed to concession after concession after concession. Did they get an end to steel tariffs after giving all that away?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, what we're hearing from the Conservatives is déjà vu all over again. They wanted us to capitulate on NAFTA. We did not. Now they want us to capitulate on steel and aluminum. We will not. The U.S. has imposed illegal and unjustified tariffs. Canada responded with perfectly reciprocal dollar-for-dollar retaliation. The solution is for both sides to lift their tariffs, and that's what we're insisting on.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata-Basque. Mr. Speaker, the climate crisis is real and it's expensive. Last week, IPCC experts called on the governments of the entire world to act quickly to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. Climate disruptions are already being felt. For example, in the Lower St. Lawrence, there's been issues. According to the UPA, this is the greatest drought they've experienced in 50 years. We have to act now. Will the government support our request to hold an emergency debate on the conclusions of the IPCC? The Honourable Minister of
Très bien que nous devons lutter contre les changements climatiques.
Intergovernmental Affairs. We know that we must fight climate change, and that's exactly what our government is doing. We have a real plan to tackle climate change and to grow the economy at the same time. Our plan represents, as you know very well, to make sure that polluters pay, and we will continue to work with Canadians to make sure that we have strong economic growth while we take real measures to fight against climate change. They're congratulating themselves. Maybe the government should recognize that it's maintained the same greenhouse gas reduction targets as the Conservatives. The Liberals haven't been able to establish a consensus among the provinces to tackle carbon emissions. Researchers have demonstrated the effectiveness of setting a price on carbon to fight climate change. We should be able to move forward. The planet cannot wait for us to decide. We need to stop with the half measures like those being put forward by the government. What good is the government's plan if its ambitions are insufficient? The Honourable Minister for Intergovernmental Affairs. Mr. Speaker, it won't surprise my honourable colleague that we don't share his pessimism when it comes to our ambition. We have an ambitious plan. Canadians, Mr. Speaker, accepted during the 2015 election that they needed a coherent plan to fight climate change and to focus on economic growth at the same time. That is exactly what our plan is doing. We will continue to work with all Canadians in order to assure them that our plan is working and that we're taking serious steps to fight climate change and to focus on the economy at the same time.
Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are feeling the effects of climate change, and things will only get worse if we do not act. In my province of British Columbia, wildfires threatened our communities for months. And last week, the UN panel on climate change said Canada's targets were woefully inadequate. And of course they are, because the Liberals took the Harper Conservative targets, and we're not even going to meet those. Will the Liberals listen to the report and act now to protect the environment, or is the proof from 6,000 scientists still not enough?
Honourable Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, our government shares our honourable colleagues' appreciation of the importance of taking robust action to deal with the challenge of climate change. Our government has said consistently since before the 2015 election that we would have a plan to tackle climate change. We would do so in a way that also fosters clean growth and a growing economy. And, Mr. Speaker, my colleague referred to the difficult circumstances of the wildfires in British Columbia. We've seen floods in New Brunswick and Atlantic Canada. We've seen tornadoes in the National Capital Region. All of these instruments tell us, Mr. Speaker, that we must take action on climate change.
Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
Mr. Speaker, this is not a response that is robust. 6,000 scientists have said that this government's plan is simply not enough. The Liberals failed to eliminate the fossil fuel sector and spent billions of public money on a pipeline. Climate change is the single greatest threat the world is facing. It is an emergency that we need to deal with now. Following the UN's report, Canadians need us to come together and do our part to prevent catastrophic climate change. It's very simple. Will the Liberals do the work and agree that we need to have a debate about this in this House?
Honourable Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I can assure our honourable colleague and all members of this House that our government is taking real action to deal with the challenge of climate change. Canadians know, Mr. Speaker, that the time is urgent in terms of concrete steps that governments can take in partnership with industry and citizens. That's exactly what our government has proposed to Canadians, and we believe, Mr. Speaker, that the measures that we have proposed over the last number of years and that we are in the process of putting into place are good for the Canadian economy, will create good middle-class jobs, and will also deal with the challenge of climate change head-on.
Député de Richmond-Arthabasca.
Mr. Speaker, notice served Friday by the lawyer for Vice Admiral Mark Norman before an Ottawa court is requesting access to several government documents that are necessary to ensure his defense. Unfortunately, the government is refusing to make these documents available and be transparent. Can the Prime Minister explain why?
Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, my mandate as President of the Treasury Board involves expenditure management and a challenge function to ensure that the integrity of government procurement practices is followed every time. When we formed government, we inherited a situation where the previous government had negotiated a $668 million sole-sourced contract. We had a responsibility at that time to do our due diligence, to pause and to ensure that we were doing everything we could to protect the interests of Canadian taxpayers.
Honorable député de Richmond-Arthabasca.
Mr. Speaker, Vice Admiral Norman is a man who served Canada for his whole life, and he served bravely. Refusing to give him every opportunity to defend himself is unfair and unacceptable on the part of this Liberal government. The requested documents include communication between a lobbyist for Irving and the Liberal member for Kings Hants, who is also, surprisingly, the President of the Treasury Board. My question is simple. Will the President of the Treasury Board obtain authorization from the Ethics Commissioner to lobby on... Has he obtained permission to lobby on behalf of Irving, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary?
Our government is delivering for Canadians by equipping the Navy and the Coast.
Order. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government is delivering for Canadians by equipping the Navy and the Coast Guard with the ships they need in order to serve Canadians. It would be inappropriate to comment on ongoing court proceedings on this or any other matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there are very troubling reports about leaks that were coming from the Liberal government in relation to the Davie shipbuilding deal. The National Post reports that the Treasury Board President personally intervened and tried to kill the deal in favour of his friends at Irving. That minister's connections to the Irving family are well known. So a simple question. Did the President of the Treasury Board get clearance from the Ethics Commissioner before he lobbied on Irving's behalf? And we would appreciate an answer from the President of the Treasury Board.
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, again, my mandate as Treasury Board President is to ensure due diligence in the expenditure of public funds and to perform a challenge function, particularly in terms of the procurement process. The previous government negotiated on the eve of an election a sole source contract worth $668 million. I'm sure they understand the need to perform some level of due diligence for a new government, having formed government, to ensure the proper expenditure of taxpayer dollars. That's exactly what I did, my job.
Opposition House Leader.
Mr.
Order.
Speaker, his job is not to lobby on behalf of the Irvings, and his question was he cleared for the Ethics Commissioner before he did that?
Yes
now,
or no?
Mr. Speaker,
Yes
what
no?
we know
Yes
about
or
Mark
no?
Norman is that from all accounts he was a trusted and dedicated public servant who put his life on the line and served our country with distinction. But today, the Prime Minister and the Liberal government are singling him out with serious allegations of criminal misconduct. Vice Admiral Norman deserves a fair hearing, but shockingly, the PMO is blocking requests to hand over documents relevant. So, Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister's office not providing these documents? Who are they protecting, Mr.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it would be inappropriate to comment on any court proceedings that are underway at this time. But, Mr. Speaker, it is important to understand and to underscore how important it is to have a procurement system that actually serves the benefit of Canadians. And, Mr. Speaker, that's exactly what we are doing. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, the Conflict of Interest Code for members of Parliament is very clear when it says a member shall not use his or her position to influence a decision by another person so as to further the member's private interests or those of a member of her family. Now, the member for Ottawa West Nepean launched a blitz of robotic phone calls as an MP asking her constituents to vote for her husband for City Council. Now, do the Liberals agree, Mr. Speaker, this is a flagrant breach of the Conflict of Interest Code?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as the member knows, the member has commented on this issue. We take the office of the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner very seriously. We interact with that office and we have the utmost respect. We will continue to do our important work. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Thornhill. Order.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Ethics Commissioner has announced that his office is considering investigating the Liberal member from Ottawa Nepean. Ironically, this member sits on the Ethics Committee. Does the minister believe that the member from Ottawa Nepean West should continue on the Ethics Committee while the Ethics Commissioner considers and conducts an investigation?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as I have just stated, I will state once again that the member has been in contact with the Commissioner's office and will continue to respect and follow his advice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Député d'Hochelaga.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are continuing the policy of harassment started by the Conservatives against charities. The Canada Revenue Agency does not intend to uphold the court's decision. With its new rules, it will continue to monitor all charities. The judge was clear. These organizations have the right to freedom of expression. Will the Liberals stop playing Big Brother and stop scaring charities?
Honourable Ministre.
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Our government recognizes the importance of charities to Canadian society. The government has detected many legal errors and will appeal in order to clear up the uncertainty created and will ask for clarification on these important legal matters. The resolution of these legal matters changes nothing in our government's orientation when it comes to removing quantitative restrictions on political activities. I cannot comment any further as the case is before the courts.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker. Canadian charities remember well the dark days when the Harper government used to use the CRA to attack them, trying to silence their voices of civil society, anti-poverty groups, environment groups, women's groups, and Liberals promised them that the attacks would stop. But like so many other Liberal promises, they broke their word. These groups counted Liberals as maybe friends, but with friends like these groups don't need any enemies. Charities beat the Harper rules at Ontario Superior Court. Liberals are appealing that decision. So how about going after hate groups or billionaires in their tax havens rather than trying to silence the voices of civil society?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, our government recognized the importance of charities' activities. They play a significant role in our society. That is why we ended the auditing program of political activities which was created under the Harper government. The legislative proposals plan to allow charities to pursue their objectives while taking part in political activities that are nonpartisan and to allow them to develop public policy. Charities always have a goal of helping society, and restrictions against partisan activities will be maintained. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, Canadian oil is being sold at a discount to the States. Why? Because we can't sell it elsewhere, because we have no pipeline to bring our oil to where it needs to go. According to Scotiabank, it cost the Canadian economy over the last year $15.6 billion. What is the Liberal government doing to manage this problem? They decided to spend $4.5 billion of taxpayers' money and send it to Houston. Wow. Mr. Speaker, now that we're the owners of this pipeline, can the government say when we're really going to start work on Trans Mountain?
Mr. Speaker, it is unacceptable that we lose $15 billion of potential revenue because we have only one customer, which is the United States. For almost a decade, the previous government failed to build a single pipeline to expand our non-U.S. global markets. We are working very diligently to respond to the issues that has been identified by the federal court, and we have put forward a path forward to bring this project back on track in the right way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, right now Canada is the cheapest place in the world to buy oil. Our oil is so cheap we're practically giving it away, all because the Liberals won't get pipelines built. This is preventing us from getting Canadian oil to new markets and is costing our economy, especially in Alberta, billions of dollars. The consequences of this Liberal failure means the loss of revenue to build needed schools, hospitals and roads, or maybe even balance a budget. If the minister can build himself a taxpayer-funded $1 million office in 3 months, why can't he get a pipeline built in 3 years?
The Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the decade of failure of the Harper government to build a single pipeline to expand our non-U.S. market is the reason that we're losing billions of dollars in potential revenue that we can use to improve services to Canadians, to invest more money in infrastructure, in making sure that we're transitioning to more greener, cleaner economy. So we are focused on getting it right. We are focused on building the pipelines. We're making sure that we're taking the right steps to respond to the challenges that
the Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, the consequences of the Liberals' pipeline failures are tens of thousands of Canadian jobs lost, oil moved by trains at record levels, hurting agriculture, forestry and manufacturing. And now a Canadian barrel of oil is selling at $52 less than one in the U.S. That's billions of lost dollars that could pay for health care, pensions and bridges in Canada. Premiers, workers and economists warned the Liberal anti-pipeline bill C-69 will kill all future pipelines in Canada. So, will the minister listen to Canadians and kill the anti-pipeline bill C-69?
Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the reason that the previous government failed to build a single pipeline to non-U.S. markets over the 10 years of their tenure is because they never understood the importance of responding to the environmental issues, and they never understood that we need to engage in a meaningful conversation and dialogue with Indigenous Canadians to make sure that issues are dealt with. We are moving forward to make sure that we are taking action on climate change, that we are responding to real issues that Indigenous Canadians have faced.
Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, 4 major new pipelines, including access to new markets, is the Conservative legacy. The reality is the Liberals' anti-pipeline bill C-69 will block all new pipelines and make that massive discount permanent. That will be the Liberal legacy. The consequences of the Liberals' failure is tens of thousands of Canadians out of work, Canada's money going to the U.S. and billions of dollars in deficits. When will the Liberals kill their anti-pipeline bill C-69?
Minister of Natural Resources.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let's talk about the lack of action that we saw from the previous government. When they got into office in 2006, 99% of Alberta's oil was sold to the United States. When they left office 2015, 99% of Alberta's oil was still sold to the United States. That is their failure, Mr. Speaker. We are focused on expanding our non-U.S. global market. That is why we're responding to the TMX issue in the way the federal court expects us to do so.
Good job.
Order. Council Member for Timmins, James Bay.
Mr. Speaker, the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board is a Crown corporation answerable to Parliament. And in their corporate ethic guidelines, they say they will meet a credible standard. And yet they've been using Canadian pension savings to invest in cigarette companies, arms manufacturers, and privatize U.S. prisons. Now, the profit margins for these have gone through the roof because Donald Trump's policy of seizing and separating families at the border and putting them in privatized prison camps. So to the Finance Minister, does he believe that investing in cigarette companies and privatized prisons meets a credible standard of corporate investment for the Canada Pension Plan?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
The Canada Pension Plan Investment Board is an independent agency from government. This is important in order to protect the pensions of Canadians both today and tomorrow. We expect the CPPIB, like other Crown corporations, to live up to the highest standards of ethics and behaviour, and that is in fact exactly what they're doing.
The Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Mr. Speaker, outrage continues to mount over the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs waited almost 2 weeks before doing what? Tweeting a joint statement by the French, German and UK foreign ministers. We didn't even issue our own statement. So, what will it take for this government to stand up for human rights and stop the sale of weapons to Saudi Arabia?
Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, our government's willingness to stand up for human rights around the world, including in Saudi Arabia, is very well known. When it comes to the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi, we're very concerned. I spoke earlier today about it with the Saudi Arabian Foreign Minister. I expressed Canada's deep concerns and asked for a thorough, transparent and credible investigation. I emphasized that those responsible must be held to account. We've been in very close touch with our G7 and NATO allies on this issue. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Brampton East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sikh and Hindu minorities in Afghanistan face constant persecution, discrimination and violence. Thousands have been forced to flee and many are living in very precarious conditions in nearby countries. We are fortunate to have a strong community in Canada that has come together and stepped up to bring some of these vulnerable families to Canada as refugees. Will the Minister please update this House on the status of the effort to resettle vulnerable Afghan, Sikh and Hindu refugees?
Well, Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague from Brampton East for not only his question but for his strong advocacy on this particular issue. We're deeply concerned by the persecution of Afghan, Hindu, and Sikh minorities in Afghanistan. Although our government is a global leader in refugee resettlement, we understand that these particular refugees are at a particular risk, and that is why we've been working very closely with the Manmeet Buller Foundation and others to not only identify them, but to expand resettlement opportunities to Canada.
The Honourable Member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, once again, the Prime Minister is displaying his lack of commitment to Canadian safety. It is now clear that the Huawei company poses a threat to our public telecommunications infrastructure. Not only did the United States and Australia ban this company from their countries, but as well 2 senior members of both political parties in the American Senate wrote to the Prime Minister to convey to him the extent of this threat. Will the Prime Minister give the order today to ban Huawei from Canada? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, we have put in place procedures along with our security agencies to review the various circumstances, and we will use our agencies' opinions and counsel, and we will use the opinions of our experts.
Parkston Warner.
Mr. Speaker, United States 2 political parties are united on one thing. Right. They oppose Canada opening itself up to China's telecom giant Huawei by including them in our 5G network. This increases the risk for the Chinese spying on Canada and our allies. We know China stole Canadian technologies, resulting in the loss of thousands of jobs, and now the Liberals are failing to protect Canadian security and jobs. Will the Prime Minister put Canada first and ensure that Huawei is excluded from our 5G network?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member knows that we will never compromise our national security. Mr. Speaker, we have every confidence in our national security agencies, Mr. Speaker. We are constructing a 5G network in this country. We have put resources into that, but in no way, shape, or form will we compromise our national security. We'll rely on the expertise of our agencies and move forward in that regard.
Honourable Member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative caucus, like many Canadians, are deeply concerned about reports that Saudi Arabia may be directly involved in the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Can the minister inform this House on actions it will take against Saudi Arabia if the reports of his death in Saudi custody are confirmed?
Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, there's some more Monday morning courage on the other side of the House, and I would like to remind the member opposite of his own comments and the comments John Baird made following Canada's strong position standing up for human rights activists. When it comes to Jamal Khashoggi, Canada is extremely...
Order. Order. Members may not like what they hear in this House. That often happens on both sides, but members have to listen and hear what others have to say, regardless of their dislike. Order. And so I call upon the honourable member for Parry Sound, Muskoka, and others to restrain themselves. It is unusual. The honourable member for Foreign Affairs.
I understand that the members opposite wish they had been more supportive of the government's position in August. When it comes to Jamal Khashoggi, we are very concerned. As I said earlier, I spoke this morning with the Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia, and we're working with our G7 and NATO allies.
Honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, in response to a serious question from my colleague, I think we've seen exactly what the Prime Minister meant when he said the nastiest election ever. I asked that minister 3 times if she would condemn Saudi Arabia's placement on the UN Women's Rights Commission. I asked that question over a year ago, and 3 times consecutively the minister refused to condemn the placement of Saudi Arabia on the UN Women's Rights Commission. Talk about Monday morning courage. Will the minister do what she wouldn't do 3 times a year ago and say Saudi Arabia shouldn't be on the UN Women's Rights Commission?
Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the members opposite when it comes to standing up for women's rights and We will take no lessons from the members opposite when it comes to standing up for women's rights and human rights around the world. I would like to remind them what John Baird said in August our government should be doing. We did not. We stood firm. We will continue to stand firm. And when it comes to women's rights, women in Canada and around the world are proud of our feminist foreign policy, supporting women here and around the world.
Order. The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, a 2010 Transport Canada report revealed that school buses not only failed safety tests, but not enough was done to prevent serious injuries to our children. And this information was kept from Canadians for almost 10 years. Whoa. That means both Conservative and Liberals failed to protect and inform families. In the meantime, Canadians put their kids on school buses, to class, on field trips, and day camps. This problem needs to be fixed now. What are the Liberals doing to ensure safety on our school buses?
Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, our government has done a great deal to improve road safety in the past 3 years, whether it is for cars, for trucks, or for buses. And my colleague will have to ask the previous government why they didn't release the report from 2010. However, having said that, I have instructed my department to take an in-depth look at the question of seat belts in buses, a fresh look based on all of the evidence that has been collected since all the way back to 1984, and I look forward to their findings. Bravo.
The honourable member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker. 8 years of secrecy? Well, that puts the Conservatives and the Liberals on the same side. The 2010 report reveals that school buses have failed safety tests and that therefore our children are not sufficiently protected when they take the bus to school. And for 8 years, Transport Canada kept that report secret. That is the height of irresponsibility and lack of transparency. The Minister of Transport has said repeatedly that safety is his first priority. So will he deal with the problem, or will he launch yet another study to determine whether or not we should provide better protection for our children? The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, as I just said in English, we have established several steps to improve road safety over the past 3 years, whether it be for buses, including school buses, cars, and trucks. That being said, I have instructed my department today to take an in-depth look at the issue of safety belts on school buses, and I look forward to hearing the results.
For Red Deer Mountain View.
Mr. Speaker, Western Canadian grain farmers are dealing with one of the most difficult harvests in recent history. In my area, barely 20% of the harvest is in. Early snow and wet conditions have forced farmers to dry most crops being harvested. Unfortunately, in Alberta, the carbon tax is making this difficult harvest worse and wiping out all remaining profits. Will the Liberals quit attacking farm families and scrap their punishing carbon tax?
Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate my honourable colleague's question and concern. Being a farmer, I fully understand, Mr. Speaker, that when you have snow on the ground and you cannot harvest your crops, it is certainly a difficult situation. We're monitoring the situation, and there are programs that are available, but we hope they will not have to be used, Mr. Speaker. It's important, and hopefully they will be able to harvest their crops. Thank you.
Honourable member for Foothills.
The Liberals did not campaign on imposing a carbon tax on provinces, and more Canadians do not support this tax grab. Right. The Liberals' carbon tax scheme is crumbling. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, now Alberta, all stand in opposition to the carbon tax. The Liberals use this ridiculous argument that the carbon tax improves competitiveness and creates jobs. How? Canadians know this tax grab is a failure and they do not support it. Will the minister stand with Canadians and abandon the carbon tax?
Good job. The Honourable Parliament, the Honourable Government of Intergovernmental Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we've been clear since before the election in 2015 that our government would take serious and meaningful action to face the real challenge of climate change. And Mr. Speaker, we have also said that putting a price on pollution is one of the most effective measures in dealing with the real challenge of climate change. Now, my honourable friend,
may think that pollution should be free. We think, Mr. Speaker, that polluters should pay, and we'll continue to work with provinces, industry, and Canadian citizens to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that we have the most robust, effective climate change plan in place.
The honourable member for Carleton.
But polluters will not pay under the Liberal plan. In fact, large industrial polluters are exempt from the carbon tax. It is seniors and struggling single mothers who will pay more just to drive to work or heat their homes in minus 30-degree weather. Why is it that whenever Liberals come up with a new tax, it always costs the most to those with the least?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with respect, I direct the honourable member's attention to the report of Stephen Harper's former Director of Policy, who indicated specifically that families can expect to be better off with the results of our plan being implemented. Mr. Speaker, it's not just him. I'd also point him to the news last week of Professor William Nordhaus, who actually won a Nobel Prize in economics for identifying a plan that would actually lead to families being better off. He pointed specifically to the province of British Columbia as a world leader. We are moving forward with a plan that will protect the environment, grow the economy. It's what Canadians expect, it's what they deserve, and it's what we are delivering to them.
The Honourable Member for Châteauguay-Lacolle. Mr. Speaker, October is Autism Awareness Month. This is an opportunity to learn more about autism and the way in which we can help people with autism, their families, and their close ones. However, the autism spectrum disorder continues to be misunderstood by many people. Can the Minister of Health tell this House what the government is doing to raise awareness and assist families? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I'd like to thank my colleague for Châteauguay-Lacolle for an important question. Our government acknowledges that autism spectrum disorder has important repercussions on Canadians affected by it and their families. In Budget 2018, we invested more than $20 million in new community initiatives to better respond to Canadians' needs. Furthermore, we are investing in research to better meet the needs of people living with autism. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Mr. Speaker, with marijuana legalization only 2 days away, law enforcement are not adequately prepared and equipped for this change. The Liberals failed to learn from the experiences in Washington State and Colorado, where accidents involving marijuana skyrocketed after legalization. Roadside testing is not in place in most Canadian jurisdictions, and the Liberals did not provide adequate training for police officers. Why have the Liberals failed to protect Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Border Security.
Mr. Speaker, let's talk about failure. For almost a decade, the police urged the Harper Conservatives to provide them with new legislative authorities for funding for training and for access to new technologies, and they failed to provide that. And when we brought those measures forward, they voted against it. Mr. Speaker, let's let the police talk for themselves. And this afternoon, the President of the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police said, and I quote, "The police are ready."
The Honourable
Order. The Honourable Member for Longueuil-Saint-Hubert. Order, please. Mr. Speaker, the new Cube radio station broadcasts only over the Internet. It will therefore fall outside the Broadcasting Act and quotas that protect content here. Now, fortunately, with Cube, we're not worried because we know that Québécois has been investing for years in Quebec culture. But what happens if the Act no longer applies to stations in Montreal, Toronto, or Winnipeg? As with Netflix, Liberals have postponed these issues to 2024, maybe even 2025. Over the Internet, culture from here is disappearing a little more every day. We have to do something to protect it now. Will this government stop this hemorrhage? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that my colleague will be pleased to give me the opportunity to remind him that I have been traveling throughout Canada and meeting people from all sectors, and they've been telling me how pleased they are about sector investments from the government in telefilm, in art and culture, and also the fact that we have set up a panel of experts that will be looking at this issue, and we will be looking at them. And there will be no free passes. He knows that perfectly well.
Mr. Speaker, some time ago I hosted a town hall on anti-racism, and a number of white supremacists and racists interrupted the event. But we have an active local citizenry in Beaches East York, from STAMP to EastEnders Against Racism. It was a jarring reminder of the work we still have to do in the name of equality. When people are so willing to be so public in displaying their hate, we need to call it out directly and confront it head-on. Can the Minister explain to this House and to my community what we are doing to confront this issue and this problem head-on?
Honourable Minister of Social Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the member for Beaches East York for his hard work in helping more Canadians live in safety and dignity. That is why we're launching cross-country consultations on a national anti-racism plan. That's why we're also investing in more culturally appropriate supports for racialized communities. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, by removing systemic barriers, we're going to help more Canadians, live in safety and dignity in this country.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, when will the Liberals stop trashing Quebec City's citadel? I was there last week. Now there's a stone being used that not only isn't compliant and the wrong kind of quality, but it also cracks in freezing and thawing. When will the minister enforce his own policies? There was supposed to be a study. What's happened with that study? Through you, Mr. Speaker, when will the minister respect this citadel and use the original stone? We're proud of that stone.
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. We value the rich heritage of the Citadel. We will repair the fort using original Citadel stones. In cases where damage to the original stone is too severe, a Quebec bidder was contracted to ensure additional stones meet strict regulations. I understand this contractor will now use stones from Quebec for the next phases of the project. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised to see my colleague's concern, given his former government used an American stone for projects at the Citadel in 2007 and 2008. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy...
The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Order, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've ended up with Coca-Cola here, and now Coca-Cola is going to be able to sell us milk. That's the point we're at. Do you trust Coca-Cola to sell us quality dairy products? No one wants to serve that up to their family. It's disgusting. Does the government realize that what we want is milk from us, produced by people from our regions?
Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate my honourable colleague's question and concern, and I can assure him we have and will continue to support the supply management system. There are some hits that the dairy farmers and processors had to take, and we will fully and fairly compensate the dairy farmers in this country. We have and will continue to take care of farmers in this country, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, it's strange how that minister can say something without saying anything at all. Now, the Liberals have let down our dairy producers in their agreement with Europe, with Asia, and now with the States. It's all very well to protest, but nothing is changing. Quebecers want their elected representatives to do what needs to be done. Will the Liberals from Quebec tell us how they can possibly let down their producers 3 times over?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, I appreciate my honourable colleague's question. And we understand, as I said, farmers will have some hit. But what we will do is fully and fairly compensate the dairy farmers in this country. Mr. Speaker, we have and will continue to make sure that the supply management system thrives in this country.
The Honourable Member from Montcalm. Mr. Speaker, how many Raif Badawis, Samar Badawis, Jamal Khashoggis do there have to be for this government to stop selling weapons to a regime that flogs its bloggers and assassinates reporters? When will the Liberals stop selling off human rights for dirty money from the murderous Saudi regime? The Honourable Minister of Global Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my colleague that the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi is very troubling, and that's the message I passed on to the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Saudi Arabia today. I also discussed this with my counterparts in Germany, the United Kingdom, and the United States. We together will be calling for an in-depth investigation.
Tabling of documents. Order. Tabling of documents. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order 36(8), I have the honour to table in both official languages the government's response to 10 petitions.
No, I don't.
Dépôt du projet de loi émanant du gouvernement.
Introduction of government bills. Statements by ministers. Reports from interparliamentary delegations.
Committees. The Honourable Member for Don Valley West.
Mr. Speaker, Monsieur le Président, j'ai l'honneur de
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have the honour to present in both official languages the 21st report of the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration entitled Order in Council Appointment of Richard Wex to the position of Chairperson of the Immigration and Refugee Board.
For York Centre.
I have the honour to present in both official languages the 19th report of the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development in